What's up, guys? It's Diego from SGN back once again with Mortal Kombat, and this time it's going to be me rating every single Mortal Kombat game, at least from the main series, from worst to best. And before I get into the video, I want to say once again, big shout out to everybody who's been watching my videos, who's been subscribing, who's been commenting, especially the people that comment on every single video. You guys are extremely appreciated, and I hope that you guys will continue to support me and enjoy each and every single one of these videos. Now let's go ahead and get straight into the list, starting off with obviously Mortal Kombat versus DC, because this is borderline not a Mortal Kombat game. Of course, the fact that Warner Brothers weren't, at least at the time, weren't just going to give the Midway, who was the original developers of the game, they weren't going to give them full rights to just kill every single superhero. You know, it is what it is. There was really a lot of limitations there, but they had to do it because they needed money. And, you know, it gave them the platform to develop what they have now. So it wasn't exactly a complete waste, because if you look at especially MK9, a lot of what we saw in MK9 came from MK versus DC. So I don't hate the game because of what it gave us. It gave us the possibility of NetherRealm Studios being created, having all the funding that they needed to make great games, and it really gave them the platform for what they do have now. But if you look at the game itself, it was pretty garbage, so I'm definitely going to list it as the very worst one, because like I said, it was borderline not an actual Mortal Kombat game in the actual series. Next up, we have number 9, which is Mortal Kombat 4. And Mortal Kombat 4, it's not like an awful game. I don't think any of these games are awful, but from a graphical point of view, it was really, really ugly. The story was okay. Like, I'm not going to lie. I like the whole Shinnok thing. That's why I like Mortal Kombat X's story as well. But I like the story about, you know, Shinnok invading, being this fallen elder god who has so many people that are worshiping him in the Netherrealm and things like that. I like the story of it. But I thought that the look of the game was really awful. The gameplay wasn't any good, really. Like, it was kind of typical MK. But it was their first attempt at 3D, and in my opinion, they didn't do a very good job of it. Now, I'm gonna say this, you know, before I go more into detail about the game, but I haven't really played the game a lot. You know, I always have a hard time getting myself into it, whether it be playing on Mugen or whatever. I've just never really been able to get myself into it. It's actually the only Mortal Kombat game of the main series that I've never owned. So that just shows you what I actually think about the game and how much of an interest I have in spending money on it. But regardless, you know, like I said, the gameplay, it was okay. I did think that it was interesting that they added the weapon system. The only problem is, as soon as you grab a weapon, the AI goes 100% aggro on you, and they're going to make sure that you drop the weapon before you can even get a hit in. So it's basically better not have the weapon than actually have it, because they will all of a sudden hit a fucking notch and go out there and they will just destroy you. They will just torture the shit out of you. So it's better to not even have that weapon. So technically it was an interesting idea, but the execution was very poor. Overall, like I said, the rest of it, just not very fun. The characters, if you look at the game, they didn't have a bad roster, but it wasn't very good either. Like, there was obviously a lot of the classic ones, but the characters they introduced were pretty bad, except for Fujin. Who else was good? Reiko. I know I'm missing one guy. I was looking at it before. I can't remember. There was one character I liked that they introduced. I can't remember exactly who it is. I know for a fact Reiko I like, but not a lot of people like him. But definitely Fujin was really, really cool. They also introduced characters like Tanya and stuff like that, but none of them that really hit for me. You know what I'm saying? None of them that were particularly cool for me. So overall, not great, but it is Mortal Kombat, so it's not that bad. Moving on, moving on, we have Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. And in my opinion, this game is probably the worst in terms of content from Deadly Alliance moving forward. Of course, it's normal because it was their very first game that was completely based on the home systems. And the biggest issue for me, it's not so much the gameplay, it's not so much the way Conquest Mode was handled, it was more or less the fatalities, because in a game like that was all about home, you know, playing at home, where there isn't a story mode, there isn't really any mode that have fun in other than arcade mode, they had to do a bit more with the fatalities, because there's literally one per character, and once you do the same fatality like 10 times, you kind of get sick of it. Like, maybe not sick of it, but you definitely have already been like, okay, I've already seen this 10 times. Like, in a row. Like, literally in a row. And you can literally do an entire arcade ladder of, like, 10 battles. And do 8 fatalities. Or 9 fatalities, because usually you can't do fatalities on the bosses. So imagine doing that over and over and over again. Let's just say you pick your main character. Let's just say it's Scorpion. How many times are you going to want to see that spear fatality in a day? Like, how many times, like, you're going to have your buddies coming over. You're going to be playing against them. It's going to be you maining Scorpion. Maybe some other guys, one other guy mains Sub-Zero and stuff like that. Eventually, you're going to find a guy who you're playing against, who you're just completely better than, and you're just going to keep on spamming the same fatality, and it gets really boring. Really boring. In my opinion, that's one of the biggest issues with Deadly Alliance. The gameplay wasn't great. Like, throughout the entire 3D era, the gameplay wasn't really great. and MK Deadly Alliance. Like I said, among the games that came after from MK Deadly Alliance on, in my opinion, it's without a doubt the one that has the least content and the least entertaining content. So that's why it is number 7 on this list. No, number 8. Moving on to number 6, we have Mortal Kombat Armageddon. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be complaining because the game was so unbalanced, because there were so many characters and things like that. But if I look at the game, I do think it's better than Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, without a doubt, because obviously it was a very similar game in terms of gameplay. It was pretty much the same, except for the difference that there were, what was there? I don't think there were death traps in Deadly Alliance. MK Armageddon didn't have them, but most importantly, Armageddon had so many characters that a lot of them were kind of copy and paste, I'm not going to lie, but overall, there was pretty much every character you could look for, except for, like, you know, some of the garbage ones like Tremor and things like that, who never really showed up in actual main game. So, in my opinion, it was cool to have so many characters on the roster, and of course, it wasn't balanced. It wasn't perfect, but not even close. It wasn't even all that good, but there were still so many characters you could go with, and it was supposed to be the swan song of Mortal Kombat. You know, after that game, it was pretty much expected that Mortal Kombat would never come back. So for them to have so many characters, pretty much have all the characters from the game's history in one game, it was really cool, and it was kind of a nice little shout out to all the fans who maybe don't have their, you know, maybe their favorite characters don't get a lot of respect in the games. So for them to all pretty much be there, it was pretty cool. And I do respect them for that, especially because, like I said, it was really much up in the air whether or not they'd ever make a Mortal Kombat game again. So I do like the fact that they did that. And one thing that I think that really Armageddon doesn't get a lot of respect for is Motor Combat. And I know a lot of people hate that, but I really enjoyed it. Me and my brother actually played more Motor Kombat than probably any other mode in Armageddon, except for regular versus, but that's just normal. You know what I mean? Like, I liked it more than Conquest mode. I liked it more than, what was the other one? I think there was another, maybe there wasn't. But anyway, I liked it more than just pretty much everything in there. I even liked it more than arcade mode itself, because I think that Mortal Kombat was actually really hilarious, especially if you're playing with a friend. If you're playing by yourself, it's just, what's the point? It's just garbage. But if you're playing with a buddy, it's actually really, really funny, and I loved it a lot. So I know a lot of guys are going to hate on that, but I definitely enjoyed it. And the Conquest mode was definitely better than Deadly Alliances, so I do think it at least warrants being above Deadly Alliance. And overall, like I said, I don't think it was that bad of a game. But it definitely wasn't a good one either. Moving on to number 5, we have Mortal Kombat X. And it's probably going to be surprising to a lot of people that this game is this low. But what I think holds it back a little bit is that, unfortunately, for some reason, I wasn't quite able to enjoy the game for as long as I enjoyed pretty much every other Mortal Kombat game I've played. I think that the biggest issue it had was just overall, there was something about it that wasn't all that fun. Like, there were some cool modes, don't get me wrong. The story mode was fun to play as always, even though I didn't particularly care how it played out and stuff like that. I wasn't a big fan of how the story was treated. But it was obviously entertaining because of the cinematics and just the way it's written, all that stuff. And the writing was actually pretty bad. But overall, you know what I mean? The way it plays out, it is fun to play, even if you don't actually enjoy what you're seeing on screen. Then the gameplay was obviously really good. It's MKX from MK9 on. They have not made a mistake, and I don't expect them to make a mistake for MK11 as well. I think the gameplay was really fun, especially with the addition of the run button. There was a lot of good stuff there. They had brutalities, they had fatalities galore. They had some stage fatalities, not many. The crypto is actually really cool, so they had plenty of things there that made it a really cool game. It's just that overall, for some reason, it wasn't able to hold my interest for as long as some of the other games on this list. And I don't know, it didn't feel like it was that amazing a game to me. But you never know. It might be one of those that as you go on, it starts to grip hold you a bit more after a few years and things like that. Maybe like MK11 will be kind of trash and we'll think MKX was amazing. We don't know. We'll find out. But as of right now, that's what I think about MKX. One of the biggest issues I have with the game is the arenas themselves, because they were kind of bland. They didn't really look like Outworld, because there's a lot of times where you're spending in that game where you're in Outworld and stuff like that, and you just don't really feel like you're in Outworld. Like, classic Outworld had dark colors. It had a lot of purple involved. It looked like it was a sinister place. Whereas you go into MKX's Outworld and you're basically in the Middle East. You're basically in Iraq or something like that, which, don't get me wrong, that's a dangerous place, but it's not Outworld. You know what I mean? Outworld is supposed to be just this awful place where everything is just so dangerous, stuff like that. Whereas Iraq is just, yes, it's cool, and this is a dangerous place, but it's so humane. Outworld isn't supposed to be Earth. You know, it's supposed to be something different. So why does Outworld have to look like the desert, just some random desert? I mean, that really annoyed me, and overall, I think that was kind of a big hindrance there. The lack of arenas as well wasn't very cool at all. There was just a very, very big lack of arenas, and overall, I think this game isn't quite as good as it probably should have been. Next up, we have Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 with number 4, and I mean, This game is pretty fun, I'm not going to lie. This was probably the first game that I really experienced as an actual player, because MK1 and MK2 I played as a little kid. You know, I'm 23, almost 24, so those games came out literally before I was born, and then I think maybe MK2 came out in 94. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, regardless. So this was the first game that I actually played as relatively conscious. I was still like 4 years old or 3 years old. So, yeah, I was 3 years old. So I didn't really know what I was doing, but for the most part, you know what I mean? I was somewhat able to comprehend what was going on. But anyway, MK3, if you feel the game, obviously it's extremely fun to play because it's so fast, it's so high-paced, everything about it was just kind of fun. The combo system was actually pretty cool because it was the first Mortal Kombat game to have an actual combo system, and overall the characters that they introduced were pretty cool. Obviously MK3 got a lot of issues because Scorpion wasn't in there, but Ultimate MK3 has a lot of awesome characters, whether it be, you know, the new cyborgs like Cyrax, Sector, etc., or whether it be having a lot of secret characters like Smoke, Noob Saibot, stuff like that. There was plenty there, and obviously having a character like Jade in there who just beat the shit out of you was really, really rage-inducing, and of course, having Shao Kahn return, in my opinion, without a doubt, the most badass villain in fighting game history. One of the best villains of all time in all gaming. And to have him in there was just really cool. So overall, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was really, really fun. And there was also a tag team mode, which was the first time it was in Mortal Kombat. So you could basically pick two characters going against two characters everybody. And that was just really, really fun. And it wasn't amazingly fleshed out or anything like that, but it was there and it was very appreciated. And it was just overall very, very fun to play. Moving on to MK1, and this is a game that realistically I probably could have put a lot higher, but I am going to be keeping nostalgia out of the picture for this video. And I should have said that at the beginning of the video. What I have about MK1 is that it's a game that's very close to my heart. Not because I was born when the game came out and stuff like that, because I actually wasn't, but it was the game that I had literally my mom had to feed me while I was playing Mortal Kombat 1. It was the only way they could get me to eat when I was a little kid. It was literally the only way. I had to play Mortal Kombat or I would not eat. They had to literally distract me with me killing people in Mortal Kombat in order for me to eat. And I know there's a lot of people are gonna be like, that's bad parenting, but dude, I haven't killed anybody. I haven't even been in a fight in my life. I'm a good person. Like I say some mean stuff, but that's just me. You know what I mean? That's just what I do. I'm not like a bad person. So anybody who goes out there and thinks that people that play violent games as a kid or something like that turn into violent people it's just stupid. Yes, there are cases of that happening, but in my opinion, there's people that grow up in a bad household, and when they have violence in their household, plus they do things that are violent through media or stuff like that, then yes, they have some problems. But somebody like me grew up with a great family who obviously wasn't perfect. Nobody's family is perfect. Grew up in a great family, all that stuff. I'm not a bad guy. I played Mortal Kombat when I wasn't even a year old. I was playing that shit all the time, eating. And yet, here I am, a good dude who hasn't been in prison yet. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, Mortal Kombat 1 is a very good game. Unfortunately, if you take out the nostalgia and you look at what came after this, really, and I do have a little bit of nostalgia because it is pretty high on the list if you just take a look at the gameplay and stuff like that. But if you look at what it does, the gameplay wasn't amazing, but for the time, it was very, very good. It was innovative because you had these shaded, they had the character models that were actually real people that were put into the game like that, and it was really cool to see. It really like you were playing something real, at least for the time. So it was cool to see that. It wasn't amazing gameplay because it was pretty slow and it was pretty rudimentary. There were no combos. There was really nothing of like truly amazing to do in there except for the fatalities. And that was probably what got people talking most, without a doubt. The game maybe wouldn't have made it anywhere near as big as it would if it weren't for the fatalities, because it was such an innovation in fighting games, and it really was a big, big deal back then. It even started the ESRB, so it is one of the most important games in video game history, you know what I mean? And overall, the game is fun. If you're playing it for like an hour or something like that with a buddy, then it's still fun today. But if you try to play more than like that, if you try to go deep in the game, there's really nothing to enjoy there, in my opinion. Of course, it's just my list, remember that. But overall, the game is still pretty fun. If you want to play something cool, pop that game in there for an hour with a buddy, and you will enjoy yourself without a doubt. And the last thing I want to mention before I move on to the next game is Reptile, and how amazing experiencing him was in the arcade. The fact that he was just such a big secret, the fact that so many things had to fall in place for you to even be able to get a glimpse of him, it was just such a badass thing. And it really was one of the coolest secrets in video gaming history. And MK, in the next 2-3 games, they still managed to make that really relevant, and it was a really, really badass thing that Mortal Kombat really nailed throughout the original 3 games of their series. It was just really, really cool, and overall, that was one of the coolest things in that game by far. Moving on to MK2, which in my opinion is basically MK1, just improved in every single way. Like if you look at it from a graphical point of view, it looks better. From a gameplay point of view, it's way better. The characters, there were all the characters from MK1, but they were also deeply improved on. They had a lot more characters as well. So just overall, the game had a lot more to it. It was a lot more deep, and just everything about it was better. The atmosphere was really cool as well. I'm not going to say the atmosphere was better than MK1 because being on Shang Tsung's island is really cool as well. The look of it was awesome, but MK2 definitely had a lot of really cool stuff, especially Shao Kahn at the end. It was an excellent boss. It was the first time we experienced him, and he was such a taunt machine. It was just really badass to fight him. He was a very imposing figure, and just overall, I think the MK2 did everything perfect. Obviously having, as well, just like MK1, having some secret characters that they do some really interesting things to be able to see, and just overall, an amazing, phenomenal game that absolutely deserves to be on the podium of this list. Moving on to number 2, and it was very difficult to decide between Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat Deception, because in my opinion, these are the two most complete games that NetherRealm Studios / Midway has ever created. But with number 2, it is Mortal Kombat 9. And I put this on this position because, yes, the gameplay is phenomenal, better than Deception, excuse me. But the story mode wasn't as fun. It wasn't as good in my opinion. It didn't have as much variety of modes. And just overall, I think that Mortal Kombat Deception takes the cake. But I'll get to that in a bit. Mortal Kombat 9, what did it do amazingly? Well, first of all, the story mode was actually really fun to play. And I do have some issues with the story itself. I don't particularly care for the way it played out and the way a lot of things that they did, because if you look at it, they kind of retconned, or not really retconned, but they just kind of changed things out of nowhere. And I do get it. It is a parallel universe, so it's not exactly the same thing. But certain characters and certain things happen in MK1 in the reboot that aren't even relevant in MK1 in the original one. So I get it. Like I said, I get it. It's a new parallel universe and stuff like that. But at the same time, I kind of wish they would have stuck to things and really kept it a bit more close to what it was in the original timeline. But that's just me. I don't know exactly what you guys think, but that seems to be the general consensus. But overall, like I said, the gameplay was phenomenal. MKDC was obviously the basis for it, but overall, they improved on it in extremely big fashion in every single aspect. They had amazing fatalities. They had a lot of, well, not amazing fatalities. Let me just change that for a second. A lot of the fatalities, the ones that were more thematic, were really cool, but a lot of them were also just cut them up fatalities that were pretty much just rinse and repeat. So that was kind of annoying, but overall, really, really good, fun game to play. Really good fatalities. The crypt was awesome. The challenge tower was really fun. The prize at the end was very, very garbage. That really sucked. But overall, good challenge tower. Really fun little variety to the game. The tag team mode was tremendous. I loved that. I played that quite a bit with my brother. Obviously, I wasn't good online. I didn't have a good connection, so it was hard for me to play that online. But, playing with friends, stuff like that was really, really fun to be able to use two characters, not just one. And it was actually really, really fleshed out, and it was really fun to play. So it was really fun to be able to figure out which combinations work best against, especially what other combinations. So it was really fun to do that. It was a very fun experience, something that was completely different than any other Mortal Kombat that we've really experienced since MK3. And even then, the tag team mode wasn't that great. And so for them to have that was a really, really big thing. It was really, really fun. And I hope that does come back in the future games. And then another thing I want to mention is what was it? Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the game. It was really, really cool. I like the fact they added so many costumes and things like that. It was a very fun game. It was supported very well. Unfortunately, it introduced the guest character thing, which was really annoying because moving forward, it has kind of bothered the balance of the game in the sense that we don't get a lot of actual Mortal Kombat characters as DLC anymore. We get, I would say, we do get a lot, but we should definitely be getting more because there's really no need for all these guest characters except for the fact that it's a money grab, and I get it. They want to make money off of it. Warner Brothers are making them make money off of it. But realistically, from a hardcore fan who doesn't give a shit about using the guest characters, I have never used a single guest character in one of these Mortal Kombat games. It really is disappointing. It annoys the shit out of me because those DLC slots should be going to Mortal Kombat characters. It should be, and yet they're not. And it really annoys the shit out of me. But moving on to number 1, it is Mortal Kombat Deception, like I said. And in my opinion, this game has a lot of good things going for it. Like I said, gameplay-wise, that Mortal Kombat 9 is definitely better. MKX is definitely better as well from a gameplay point of view. But if you look at the game as a whole, there is so many amazing things about the game. Starting off with arcade mode, obviously arcade mode, classic arcade mode, really cool. The addition, one thing that I really liked was the fact that Noob, Saibot, and Smoke were sub-bosses on the same team. So it was a very different challenge, a very tough challenge, and one that was very, very fun to play. Also, I liked the fact that there were, stage fatalities in a different way. Because of the fact that they didn't have any more just normal stage fatalities because it was 3D and all that stuff, I do like the fact that they had death traps. So it wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but I do like the addition of it because it wasn't in Deadly Alliance. Also, I fucking loved conquest mode. The fact that you can have such an open world environment in MK, you can explore all the realms. It was just extremely cool, very unique, and just extremely fleshed out. And it was just so fucking fun to play. And I really hope that we see something like that coming back in a future Mortal Kombat game. Hopefully, maybe MK11 will have that, something like that. I really enjoyed it. In my opinion, it was the best story mode experience that Mortal Kombat has ever produced, and it was just so fun. Of course, Shujinko was kind of a bum character, and he was just extremely stupid, but overall, there was so much to experience. Going through an Earth Realm, Nether Realm, Outworld, Seidos, the Chaos Realm, Order Realm, all that stuff. It was just so fun to do, so much stuff to experience. Edenia as well. All that stuff, all the realms were in there. It was just so fun to play, so much to experience. All the characters were pretty much there in the storyline, whether it be cameos or actual playable characters. There was just so much to experience, so much to do. That mode was just so amazing. I hope to see it coming back. Plus, the addition of a couple of, extra mini modes like, Tetris basically, which was, Kombat, I can't think of the name right now. The combat mode where, it was basically Tetris. Plus, they had the amazing puzzle combat mode, which is so cool. You had different level characters. They had the king, you had the elite, you had the mage, all that stuff. You had all the really, really interesting little factions you could have between the characters, all the different little rankings, and you could put them on there. And it was just really, really fun. Just a really, really cool mode. And everything, it was puzzle combat. That's what the name of it was. And then it was chess combat. So overall, there was so much variety. And obviously, the crypt being in there as well. There was so many unlockables. And in my opinion, Mortal Kombat Deception is the pinnacle of Mortal Kombat, because they did literally everything right, except for maybe the gameplay. But they had also quite a bit of variety in the fatalities. I think there were 2 fatalities per character, and there were a lot of characters as well. So it was just a really, really fun game, an amazing game for all, for all generations of Mortal Kombat. Whether you're starting off from MK1 and moving on to MKX, or you're maybe a newer player who's starting off with MK, 9 or X, and you're like, let me go check out Mortal Kombat Deception, because maybe playing MK1 is rough to do when you're used to that. And then you're like, okay, Mortal Kombat Deception is relatively new. It's apparently one of the best games in the series. You go in there, you're immediately going to realize how much quality was there. And just overall, such a phenomenal game. And anybody who hasn't played the game for some reason, definitely go play it. Enjoy the shit out of yourself and experience what, in my opinion, is the very best Mortal Kombat experience you have ever been able to witness. So thank you so much, guys, for watching the video. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of my list. Which ones do you agree with? Which ones, what order do you think? Do you think I made some mistakes? Do you agree with me? Let me know what you would change and what you would do with this list. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. That way, every time you see, every time I put out a new video, you'll get a notification to be 1 click away from watching said video. And big shout out to Judgment Fist, who's been putting out a lot of artwork for me, helping me out with a lot of these videos in terms of just giving me some badass art, some badass thumbnails, which a lot of you guys have been letting me know that you enjoyed. So thank you so much for all of you guys, and definitely go check out her Instagram or Twitter. I'll leave all the links in the description down below. So thank you so much, guys. I will see you in the next video.